What's up, Matt?
All right, what is happening,
Hey,
sir?
dude.
How's things, man? I'm gonna
Hey, man.
get you spotlit. We got all these other handsome faces coming in, but you get to be the handsomest of the day.
All right. What's
We'll,
up, everybody?
we'll do that. Boom and boom. Good to see you, brother. How's things? Happy Friday.
Oh, dude, happy Friday, man. It's Friday and I'm looking forward to the weekend. How you doing?
Yeah, life is good, man. Like, remind me where you are in the world.
We split time between Orange County, California and Nashville.
In Nashville. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Man, so where are you right now? Which one are you
I'm
in?
in Orange County.
You're in
Yeah.
OC right now. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
I
We'll have to talk about that because I'm
Yeah,
Cal.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. We love the beach, but we love Tennessee politics, so we go back and forth.
Yeah, that's rad, man. That's awesome. I'm a California guy, born and raised. But 3.5 years ago, we bought a farm in Asheville, so Nashville without the N. So
Nice.
we're only about 4 hours away from
Yeah.
Nashville.
Oh, dude, that's
From
beautiful country over
fire.
there. Yeah,
Beautiful,
absolutely.
man.
Yeah.
Beautiful spot. So we'll
Yeah,
have.
we were kind of similar during COVID when everything got crazy. We were just like, hey, let's go do the Tennessee thing. And we just absolutely fell in love with it. We homeschool our kids. I work remote, so it's very easy for us to go back and forth. And
Yeah,
so we make the best of both worlds.
yeah, 100%, man. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
rad.
Thanks, dude. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool, man. So we've got some of our men and some of our young men from around the world here. So
Mm,
many, homeschool. We're a homeschool family as well. Obviously,
nice.
we help families all over the world do that. We have a few hundred families that homeschool with us, and then we've got 100 or so families that are building out schools, K through universities, or homeschool co-op type things. And then we get to do
Hmm.
this every week too, where we bring people together virtually and talk to some of the coolest people on the planet. So we got a lot of alignment here. And one of our guys sent me this book a little bit earlier. I guess tail end of last year. It's called Black Belt Husband. Maybe you've heard
All
of it.
right. Let's
And
go. Black belt husband.
yeah, and he's like, I'll tell you what. He goes, reading this, he goes, you will love this guy. He goes, you guys remind me of each other, and you guys need to connect. So thanks for coming in, man, and hanging out with us.
Yeah, well, thank you for the invite. I'm excited to be here, and if I can help in any way possible, that's awesome. Yeah,
So,
humbled. Yeah.
so cool, man. No, I appreciate it. And it's awesome because on Fridays we've got our young guys that come in here too, right?
Hmm.
12, 13, 15, 17, 18. They come in with some of our
Sweet.
and man, there's so many times where I'm so grateful and I walk away from these conversations and go, if only I'd had conversations like this with good men when I was a young man to learn how
Mm,
to, because got some great things from my father and some things that weren't there. He did the best that he could. But man, I never had conversations around being a good husband, around being a good,
hmm.
like that wasn't a conversation. And
Yeah.
I love getting to do that. And so bringing in somebody that's worked with so many people in that arena too, and having
Hmm.
our young guys here where we can pour into them and build them up to be better than us.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh man, I love that. I love that you're doing that. Love that there's young people here. Had I known that, I would have pulled my 12-year-old into this conversation too. But
Oh, so rad.
you could share the recording with me at some point. I could give it to
For
him.
sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I would,
Cool. Nice. Yeah.
it would be an
Yeah.
honor. And
Okay.
how old are the kids?
I have two boys, 12 and 9. Levi is 12 and Samuel is 9. Yeah.
Okay, very
Yeah.
cool. Okay, so mine are so my girls are 14 and 12, and then my young man is 9.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. Awesome, dude.
yeah,
We're in the
right.
same journey, brother. We're right
We
here.
are, man.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
we
That's
are side
awesome.
by side.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about the journey. I love to, especially when I have our young men here, I love to go back to Quentin as a young buck. Like, who was
Mm.
that young guy? Where did he grow up? What was the relationship like in the household there? I always think that backstory is super interesting, especially when it's somebody who is having so much impact on building good families right now. I think
Mm.
it's just an interesting thing, man. So do you mind laying that out for us a little bit?
No, of
Who's
course.
this
Yeah.
young teenage young buck? Where's he at? What's he like?
Yeah. I mean, dude, I love that you're asking that question because I think it's such a relevant part of kind of, why I do what I do today. So, I grew up in a pretty crazy family and, uh, I grew up with a pretty violent alcoholic stepfather, um, who really left a lot of trauma for me and my siblings. Now, he wasn't all bad.
Mm,
He imparted some really wonderful things to us. I get my work ethic from him. I get my sense of discipline from him. Um, but I didn't grow up in a happy, healthy home. I grew up and, I was the family on the street where the police were called often because there was some like domestic violence situation happening there. And so because of, I didn't have good role modeling growing up, in the sense of like, what does it mean to be a healthy man? My dad kind of ruled by an iron fist.
Yeah.
And so I took that into my own adult life, and and it worked until it didn't work. And so I got into a lot of trouble. You know, um, in my early 20s, mid 20s, I was just kind of, really just kind of up to no good.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening to me, how the story kind of like transforms for me is that I ended up getting married when I was 26, and then I was divorced by 28. And going through that divorce at 28 really rocked my world. And the way I like to describe it for people is that it was kind of like pulling the scab off of all that old trauma from growing up. And at the time, I didn't even know, like, when someone would ask me about my childhood growing up, I would just say, "Oh, I came from a good family." I didn't know that I came from a family with a lot of problems, and so it's kind of one of those things where you just don't know what you don't know. I
Mm.
ended up going to therapy because I had a great friend who was like, "Dude, you got a lot of problems. You need to go talk to somebody," you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, I didn't even know that that was really a thing." So I started going, and then it really just kind of like uncovered a lot of stuff about myself, my past, my history. Um, Ended up really falling in love with the idea of trying to help people that were just like me, and that's where my life took a very pivotal turn, is that I went from, having, a really good corporate job where I was kind of on a fast track, to being successful, to, basically I quit it all at 29, went back to graduate school and decided that I wanted to make a profession of helping people. And it was all just really born out of wanting to help the person that I was, and realizing that there's a lot of men out there who, have are going to grow up in environments that have a lot of trauma, that don't even know that they have a lot of trauma. And then what happens is they take all that trauma into their marriages, and they're very well intended. They want to be good husbands. They genuinely want to try, and they want to be good, but they just can't get it right
Yeah.
because there's a lot of emotional stuff that's blocking them. So,
Yeah.
my mission field in the world, so to speak, is to really serve men in that capacity, help men heal so they can be highly effective in their families in a way that I wasn't able to in my first go around. And that's basically my story in a nutshell.
It's really good, man, and that is work that matters so dang much. There's a couple things I want to ask. The healing part of this, and I ask a lot of questions from the 2 decades in education and trying to come at things from a Socratic standpoint. I imagine the answer to this is likely it's a little bit of both,
Hmm.
and that's fine. We can unpack it if that's what it is. But if you had to pick one, that's where I want to start. So, when you're talking about healing and that trauma, is it
Hmm.
more important in your experience for men to really unpack and recognize the traumatic things that were there and be able to just acknowledge that? Or is it more important in that healing journey for them to redefine the scenario, right? So, like
Hmm.
we grew up in a very I almost have this a little bit of a stereotypical thing in my life where I'm the oldest
Hmm.
of four, but I'm really the oldest of three because the fourth one was 20 years later, and
Okay.
I grew up
Yeah.
with a very different dad than we all did. My dad got
Hmm.
much better and did a great job with it.
Yeah.
Was different for us.
Hmm.
My brother and sister have often used our upbringing as the reason why they were angry for so long or
Hmm.
things didn't work out right. I
Yeah.
use it as the reason I would never go that route.
Right. Right.
right? And I still made plenty of those mistakes, but I still had that different shift, right? So I look back and redefined our experience as I tried to reframe it as a positive thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And go,
Mm-hmm.
okay, here's
Mm-hmm.
what I learned from it. So
Yeah.
do you think
Yeah.
it's more important for men to take that kind of avenue or really sit and go, here's what it was. Here's like I'm acknowledging this and unpacking this. I imagine it's both.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Great
you got to
question,
pick one.
man. That's such a great question. I kind of maybe see it as developmental in that that you it's essential. This is just my Quentin Hafner opinion. I think it's essential to sit in it in an acknowledgement place until you just don't need to do that anymore, and then you can see
Mm,
how it has shaped you, and
mm,
you could use it for the benefit. And so I kind of look at it more as like a developmental kind of like timeline. Like you
yeah,
might need to be in one, and I don't know this for you, but you might have been in it without really even realizing that you were in it, and so the transition to the other stage kind of happened naturally without you being super conscious of it.
yeah,
And the reason I say it's developmental in that sense is because a lot of guys, um, I think none of us like to sit in our pain.
yeah.
And I think that, we all have this natural tendency, and it's not a bad desire, but whenever we are feeling pain, we want to get out of the pain, right? It's a good human behavior. We avoid things that feel bad.
Mm,
And so what a lot of guys do is they I don't think that they give their experiences the proper credit that it deserves and how it's really impacted their life, and they kind of want to jump to the second stage maybe a little bit too quickly, and I get that too because I would also.
sure.
And so I think that there's like, like the Bible says, there's a time for everything.
Right.
There's a time to heal, there's a time to harvest, there's a time to grow.
Yep.
And so there's a time to kind of sit in that pain, not to sit in it and to wallow in it and to be miserable, but just to be self-reflective and contemplative and to say, okay, how has this really impacted me? And there's a time to move out of that and to say, okay, how has this shaped me for the good? And how can I see it in all the positive benefits? Like, you know, like, like just using my own story for an example. So there was a season where I felt, maybe some feelings like your siblings feel, where I felt angry and I felt betrayed and I felt let down, I felt wronged, I felt like, gosh, like I didn't have a good dad and all this stuff. And so I just needed to be in that space for some time. But then I came out of that space and then I started having different thoughts like, man, I realized that I am such a good dad to my boys because I went through that. So I'm so thankful for that experience. And I think that sometimes we want to jump to that second stage just a little too quickly.
Yeah.
And so I could
Yeah.
ramble.
That's
I don't want to
good,
ramble,
man.
but that's
No,
kind of
it's
my
good.
sense. Yeah.
No, it's good. It helps. And it helps me answer, almost answers the second part of that I wanted to go into as well is, we've got hundreds of men here in what we do. And some of the men that I've talked to have been so excited about the journey they've gone on in therapy. And then some have also gone, man, at some point, I don't want to sit and just talk about the pain anymore. And I think they've just had different experiences with different therapists. But you kind of unpack that. I was going to ask, like, how long do we sit there before we go? And I imagine it's a little different for every guy, but I appreciate that you're like, yes, you do need to sit there in it a little bit and then move on, right? Like therapy is not just forever sitting and looking at the problem, right? Gaze too long into the abyss, lest the abyss looks back into you, right? And so you're talking about moving forward. How do you know when you're working with somebody? How do you know, okay, now it's time to, or how do you nudge them? Like it's time for you to move forward now. We don't need to talk about your stuff anymore. Like, are there any signs on that? And that's a genuine, I have no idea question.
Dude, it's such a great question. And I mean, if you ever want to have a sidebar conversation, because I have a lot of strong opinions about therapy,
Yeah.
about therapists, about
Yeah.
the industry of therapy and how it actually causes a lot of harm in people. So even
Mm,
though I'm technically a therapist, you'll probably find out that I'm actually more anti-therapy than I am pro-therapy in a lot of ways. And I don't, but I don't, that's probably for a different
I
conversation. But
understand. Yeah.
the reason I say that is because for the point that you're making, okay, you're making such a great point. And what happened, and I've had this experience with clients. They've come to me, they're like, man, like I felt like I was working with this person and they just wanted to keep rehashing, my daddy issues or my mommy issues. And I just felt like I didn't want to talk about that anymore. I wanted to find out, like, where do I go? What's the next step?
Yeah.
So I kind of like, and this is not going to be a helpful answer, but I kind of look at it as like, um, it's kind of like people will say, well, how do you know when you find the one? And you're
Yeah.
just like, dude, you're just going to know. You just got
Yeah.
to trust trust God,
Yeah. Yeah.
trust life that when you meet that girl, you're going to be like, she's the one.
Yeah.
And that's, we have an intuitive wisdom inside of ourselves that we can trust.
Mm,
And if you're working with a good counselor, therapist, coach, they're going to
mm,
help you access that intuitive wisdom.
mm.
And and so this is kind of the way I do it with all of my clients is that I'm always doing this little dance with them back and forth where I'm saying, okay, well, like, like, do you want to talk about that? Do you want to go into that? And they're like, yeah, I feel like I need to spend more time really understanding. Okay, great. So let's do that. Right. And then someday they'll come in or one day they'll come in and I'll say, hey, like, okay, we were talking about that. You know what? I feel like I have some resolution to that. Now I want to feel like, oh, where should I go from here? Okay, great. So let's start transitioning. Okay, we're going to start transitioning the conversation.
Yeah.
The reason I'm so opinionated about this is because if a therapist helps a person graduate to the other side, they're
Mm,
out of business.
mm,
And so there's a conflict of interest inherent in the therapy
mm.
profession that if I can keep you stuck and keep uncovering more issues, more mommy and daddy stuff, well, it's a really great income stream to me. Now,
Right.
I'm not saying that there's a
Understood.
sinister approach, but
Understood.
it's a reality that we have to address in our profession. And how
Yeah.
do we help clients actually move forward
Mm.
without feeling like we want them to stay stuck because it keeps the lights on for
Yeah.
us.
Impacts our bottom line.
And nobody wants to
Yeah.
talk
So,
about that because it's kind of like
so
the
good.
dirty like
Yeah.
secret or
Yeah.
about this profession. And I'm just like, dude, I just think we need to talk about it because I had a therapist that was my experience with.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful guy. He helped me with a lot of really important stuff. And I felt this intuitive wisdom that I was ready to go and take all this new found growth and transfer it into like some really great wins in my life.
Yeah.
And he kept wanting me to come
Yeah.
back, to the pain and the healing. And I was like, dude, you're not understanding. I'm good. Like I
Where's the rock?
genuinely, I'm
Yeah.
not in denial. I'm not minimizing my problems. I'm genuinely centered and whole and I'm ready to go on. He couldn't transition with me. And so
Yeah.
I ended up having to cut him loose. But I think that experience happens a lot for people. And
Yeah.
so, if anybody's listening to this and that has been your experience, just know that, trust your gut, trust your instincts, and there's a lot of great people out there that are going to help you move on to that other side in stage 2. You just got to be trusting your own wisdom and your instincts to allow yourself to go there.
That's really good, man. It's really good. And it's funny that trust comes up too. We had our men, it was just our men yesterday, and we had a gentleman on, and we were talking about the importance of trust and being able to trust yourself. You're talking about trusting that in intuition. And when you are at that space where it's a healthy space where you're retrusting that intuition that you have, not ironically, other people will also trust you more. You'll be able to lead more. You're trusting your wisdom. You'll be able to lead your family better. You'll lead your wife better. You'll lead your kids better because you're trusting yourself as well. And they feel that too. That's so important. So interesting, man.
Hmm.
You
Did
when
I answer your question, Matt?
That's great,
Was
man.
that
No,
okay?
it's
Cool.
really,
Yeah.
really, really good. Yeah, no, really
Okay.
good. I
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
it. When you working with so many men and working with so many high performing men, what are the patterns? Because again, we've got some of our young guys here too, and I know we've got listeners, a lot of listeners that are parents and they're raising these young people and they're wanting to again make young people better than we are. What are some of the patterns that maybe you see Are there patterns you see over and over again of guys that are coming to you, and maybe it is, the marriage is, they feel like the marriage is falling apart, whatever that looks like, but there's a pattern there that we can somewhat address here, obviously without throwing names out there, but kind of throw some of the patterns out that maybe these young
Sure.
can try to get ahead of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, totally. Yeah. So, in my work, in my world, most people come to me initially because of some marital crisis.
Yeah.
And that's usually the kind of the entry point, where people kind of find me. And what I always tell my clients is that they don't really have a marriage problem. They have they have a you problem that's disguised as a marriage problem. And
Mm,
so, and this is, I'm a little bit,
good.
contrarian in this regard because I don't really believe in marriage problems. I just believe that we have individual problems
Yeah.
that show up inside of our marriage.
Yeah.
And so it's rarely about communication skills. It's
Yeah.
rarely about being a better listener. I mean, all the things that are traditional marriage counseling concepts are not really the problem. I mean, and it's kind of more like lipstick on a pig.
Yeah.
You could dress it up and you could teach people, how to be a good listener. But if you have like a heart level problem,
Yeah. Yeah.
then you're going to really, and most of my clients have heart level problems. And what I mean by that is like, it's not that they're bad people. It's just that the thing that they're really struggling is typically more deeper and little bit more complex than like, a relationship technique. So, that's what I love helping people with. I love helping people find out kind of like what that thing is. And in my world, because I do mostly work with, I call them high performers, but they're Matt, they're guys like you and I, really, guys that are really driven, we're ambitious, we want to do big things in the world, maybe it's kind of more missional stuff, or maybe it's business, or could be professional athletics and things like that, where you know, people that like they want to accomplish a lot. They're focused, they're driven, they're goal oriented. And the reason I like working with that kind of person is because I can relate to that kind of person because I'm like that in a lot of ways. And for guys like that, it's very easy to take our eye off the ball of what really matters and to spend a disproportionate amount of time on this other stuff that matters, but matters
Yeah.
less than aspects of our personal life, because what ends up happening for these guys is they become so focused on accomplishing that thing
Yeah.
that they end up losing the thing that they care about the most in the process.
Yep. That makes sense, man. Oh, it's really good. So, okay, so I'm tying this to something I heard recently from you too. Is like the number one silent killer in relationships, expectations. Right?
Expectations. Yeah.
Expectations. So
Yeah.
unspoken expectations. So I'm listening to you talking about these men too, and how you're helping get to the, I fully, not only do I understand what you're saying on it, it's that it's a me problem within the context of the marriage. It's not a marriage problem. I tend to very much agree in my experience that makes just a whole lot of freaking sense to me. So when we're talking about unmet expectations, again, here goes my Socratic brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it a bigger problem in your experience? Unspoken expectations of the wife in the marriage that the man is struggling with, or unmet expectations of himself for himself?
Mm. Great question. Great question. Okay. Can
Sorry,
I
that's my
just,
brain. Sorry, my
no,
brain
no,
goes.
dude, it's great. It's great. It's like, I want to answer your question, but without directly answering your question, because I want to add a thought to that I think will help the conversation. So, um, and is this mostly boys, men on this call? Is that who's going to listen to it, or
On here live, we have got young men and
got
men.
it?
And if you are okay with it going out to
Of
what was,
course, a
we'll
thousand
put it
percent. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
internally just to
Yeah.
our men and our young men. But
Yes,
if you're okay with the podcast,
dude. Sweet. Okay,
that
cool.
goes out to the world.
Okay. So okay. So I think it's important to kind of back up a second and just talk
Sure.
about like statistics for a second. Okay. So what we know, okay, is that there's a couple statistics that we know. Okay. Number one, there's two really important statistics. Number one is that more than 70% of all divorces are initiated by women.
Wow.
Okay. So for you boys and men in this conversation right now, this is very important to understand. This is a reality. Okay. So when we think about all the people that get divorced, it's not men leaving their wives, it's wives leaving their husbands.
Mm,
Okay. So we know that it's that wives have a level of discontent and unhappiness inside of their marriage. Okay. And it's so much so that they're willing to exit the marriage, which is a really big decision for a wife to do. Okay. But 70% of all divorces are going to be initiated by women. And when we look at the statistics and we go and we ask all those women and we say, okay, tell us, why did you leave the marriage?
mm,
What was it? Was it parenting? Was it money issues? Was it this and that? We try to come up with this reason. But when you take all the data and you kind of summarize it all together, there's really one reason why women leave marriages.
mm,
And it can be expressed in a sentiment like this: I didn't feel like I really mattered.
mm,
And so it's an emotional pain that
mm,
wives feel that carried on for a prolonged period of time compels them to one day wake up and say, you know what? I'm going to check out.
mm,
So what I love teaching men is this concept of being a leader inside of a marriage. And what does it really mean to be a leader inside of our marriages? As men, if I say, hey, I want to be the leader of my family, what does that really mean?
mm,
Does that mean that I'm the manager? Does that mean I'm the boss? Does that mean that I'm in charge? Well, really, it doesn't mean any of those things. It means that I'm going to show up in a certain way inside my family life that creates a ton of safety for everybody inside of my family. And this is where like black belt husband kind of like I used a lot of that metaphor inside the book about creating safety and how the safest person in jujitsu is really a black belt, because
right,
they know how to not hurt you.
right.
And it's the same concept inside marriage. So when men understand this idea of emotional safety and how to make somebody, i.e., your wife, feel like she really matters, she becomes a devoted follower. And
Mm,
you don't need to demand leadership because people just naturally want to follow you because it feels so good to follow you. And this is where a lot of guys get blindsided because they think that they're doing a good job by providing and being a good dad, that their marriage is stable and secure. And so when I say blindsided, that's also the statistics that most men are completely surprised when their wife initiates a divorce because they're like, I had no idea that she felt this way. Now, and that's what I really love, helping men in that space
yeah,
because I can help them recover it. But sometimes it's not recoverable too. And they then they slowly start to wake up because I could ask questions like, okay, well, what did you do to make her feel like she was really important, like she really matters? Like, well, I went to work every day and I provided. Okay, great, check, that's awesome, love that.
yeah,
You got to be a provider.
yeah,
Okay, well, I was a good dad, and I wasn't abusive. I didn't hit my kids. Okay, great, check, right? But what did you do for her?
right.
What
Yeah,
did you
because that's not actually answering the question.
Exactly, right? And so we see, okay, so this is a kind of a long way around to answer your question. So I work with these high performing guys that are great providers.
Yeah.
They're great dads, but they haven't learned how to lead their wives in a certain way that creates devotion from her. And that ends up leading to divorce. So you brought up expectations, and I kind of took it in a different way. And I hope that's okay because we could still talk about
Great, man.
expectations, but I wanted to share that statistic because what I find is a lot of people don't know that. And they're like,
Yeah,
oh, really? That's an interesting
yeah,
thing. And um, there was a second statistic that I wanted to share too, which was, oh, this is also a very important statistic, especially for boys and men hearing this. when we look at marital satisfaction and we study marriages and we say, okay, well, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? You know, whatever, right? We have all this data, it's been collected. What we have found is that the way the man shows up inside of the marriage has a disproportionate effect on the success of the marriage than the way the woman shows up. So
What do you
we as men
mean?
have way more power in influencing the outcome or the success of the relationship than actually women have.
Yeah, I believe
So it's
that.
kind of like saying women all kind of show up the same.
Yeah,
This is not really true, but just for a
sure.
generality, it's like women kind of show up the same, but men show up different. And how the men show up will determine the success of the relationship.
Man, that makes all the sense in the world. Makes all the sense in the world. So here's and gentlemen, young men, and I know we're at 30 in, guys. So you guys, young men, if you guys start thinking of some things and you have some questions and you guys start putting your hands up, so I know that we've got a few because I'd love to bring you in too. Um, what you're saying makes all the sense in the world. Those statistics, I see that playing out. I think I, I get it. How do you deal with, or do you ever have to deal with the cultural shift somewhat of like, oh, we're all everybody's even in this like the
Uh-huh.
skew, like we're all talking, we're saying things that a lot of times we're using the same dictionary,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but it's a different meaning, really.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, how do you does that has that impacted things like this cultural shift towards, well, the non-traditional, the man is just trying to lead, he's this, patriarch, whatever, and like, have you seen that impact things
Totally.
already? It's had it
Yes.
has to.
Yeah. I mean, that's, yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you a funny story. I was talking to a client the other day, this guy, and I was telling him, I was teaching him how to create standards inside of his relationship and how to
Yeah,
set standards. And this is what good leaders do is they create standards. And he was like, dude, you don't understand this. My wife is like a crazy feminist and she's not going to go for this leader BS. And, I don't like this might work for some of your other clients. This is not going to work for my client. I said, dude, will you just trust me? If it fails, I'll take full responsibility, but just do this thing. I want you to just to try it. So we work through this thing. He does this thing. I end up talking to the wife like 2 weeks later, and she's like, I was so happy that he did that. And I was like, that's so funny because he was worried that you wouldn't like be into it because he thinks you're kind of more of like a feminist and that,
yeah,
she's like, I don't even care about any of that stuff. I'm just glad that he is leading. So here's the whole point. Okay. Yes, we live in this culture and it's, there's all this crazy stuff going on and, men and women are the same and boys can be girls and girls can be boys and all this psychosis, okay? And that, this concept of being a leader in your marriage is an old antiquated idea and that most women in 2025 don't want to be led.
right.
I can't tell you how far that is from the truth. And the people that I work with, I don't work with a Christian audience typically. I work with mostly very wealthy secular people.
Yeah,
And these women all want to be led.
yeah,
This is the thing, and this is God's wiring.
yeah.
God put it inside of us. And I've never met a woman who hasn't wanted to relax in the safe leadership of a strong, safe man. I don't care if you're a feminist or you're, a hardcore X, Y, and Z person. It's just in our human nature. Women want that. They have a deep desire for that. And so when men show up and they create that environment, it creates inside of a woman a sense of I like using the word devotion because it's like how to create raving fans. It's like you're creating a devoted follower inside of your business, regardless of the cultural milieu of whatever's happening at the time. None of it matters because you can't unwrap the natural order of the world.
So good, man. God freaking love it. Absolutely love it. Well, okay, so I see a question from David. He says he's at work, so he can't ask out loud. So I'm gonna ask his first, but you kind of opened another door that I wanna go down into a little bit. Let's see. So David says divorces cause bitterness, often weaponized, children against a parent? I'm like Ron Burgundy, David. So if you wrote it in a way that it doesn't make sense when I say it out loud, that's on you, buddy. Love you. Says, can you explain how a child trying to seek affirmation from a parent directly affects the mental growth of the child or that relationship? Yeah, David, you might have to elaborate on that. I don't know if Quentin, like it's a little unclear. If you get a chance, I might ask you to elaborate on that because I'm not 1,000% sure what you're asking on there. So maybe we'll come back and kind of take a stab on that, but I don't fully grasp the question myself 100%. Um, one of the things you're talking about right there is God's design, man, and not necessarily always working with a Christian audience and whatever, but still leaning into whatever this design is. How does faith, or how has that helped shape your understanding of all the work that you get to do, manhood and family leadership, and how has that kind of gone hand in hand with that for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, my faith is like, it's the most important part of my life. So it drives really everything I do and the way I think about and see the world and my worldview. The cool thing is that what I keep kind of seeing over and over again is that, um, everything that I know about, everything that psychology would say about how to live a great life and how to have a great marriage, it's completely supported in a
Been
biblical
around a
worldview
while.
too. Yeah. So, psychology sometimes pretends to have the upper hand, but it doesn't in the end. And I'm saying that as someone who's not anti-psychology. I think
Sure.
psychology is really important to understand how humans work and stuff. But so I can work with I can work with a Christian audience or a secular audience, but the principles of relationship are going to be just principles of relationship. I kind of liken it to, if I want to say, okay, hey Matt, I want to help you, get into, peak physical health. Well, you could be a Christian or a non-Christian. The principles are going to be the same, and that's how relationships work too. But when it comes to relationships, there is something really special about, just understanding the eternal implications of relationships. And what does that mean for us, and how, like I see myself as, you know, God has entrusted my wife and my children into my care. Well, that comes with a pretty weighty responsibility, and I don't take that lightly.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm holding that very,
yeah,
humbly and carefully, and so I think concepts like that, from a faith orientation, I think help me just show up as a better husband.
100%.
Um, but yeah, you
Yeah,
can be a non-believer and still have a decent relationship. But I think if you have a Christian worldview and you have an eternal perspective of relationships, it just makes relationships so much smoother.
yeah, yeah. No, that makes perfect sense, man, because you're looking at it with a different level of honor, because you are looking at that as, like you said, something that is entrusted to you. Like what a massive responsibility and also a massive gift, when you look at it that way. No, I
Right.
really like that.
Right. Yeah.
So we got Amy in here. What's up, sir? Look at you, man. Not in uniform, nothing like this is you actually wear other clothes.
I do. I'm in New Orleans right now for a special ceremony, so I'm going to take advantage of this Friday. So,
Look at you, man. Right on, looking good, brother.
right. Yeah, sir, my question kind of goes back to what you said earlier about teaching men to be a leader in marriage, showing up inside a family that creates safety. Although I think you kind of put more emphasis on emotional there, and that's kind of where, I'd like my question to go. Um, w- a lot of men, and myself included, take that safety, more on the, hey, providing for the family, right? Not just food on the table, that protector warrior mentality for wife and kids, etc. Um, the emotional side, I'm definitely one that struggles, on this emotional side, just because I think and process emotions differently than all the females in my house, right? For my wife and two daughters. Um, and that's something I've been working with my wife on in terms of, uh, understanding, I guess, how to be more emotionally supportive,
Hmm. Hmm.
So my question to you is, like the intention is there, maybe
Mm-hmm.
like the, um, I don't want to say necessarily childhood, but that developmental aspect that you're talking about, like how do you help men understand creating the emotional safety in their
Mm.
marriage? Can you
Mm.
build on that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, man. It's a great question. I'm glad that you brought that up. So thank you. Okay, so emotional safety versus physical safety, and every guy that I know, myself included, we would take a bullet for our family, right? We would, if the robber comes in at 2 a.m, it's us that's
Absolutely.
going to go and be protective, and that's good and that's beautiful, and we never want to change that. But the truth is, that's probably an unlikely scenario. I mean, statistically, it's very unlikely that that's going to happen, at least in America in 2025, thank God, right? But and so what a lot of guys do is they carry so much pride about protecting their family, protecting their wife, but they forget this very important thing that nobody's going to hurt your wife. Like actually you're going to hurt your wife.
Mm.
Like no one's going to hurt my wife like
Mm.
I'm going to hurt my wife because of not physically. Of
Mm.
course not. I would never, put a hand on her, but the way I speak to her, the way that I look at her, do I praise her? Do I see the best in her? Do I, lift her up to greatness? Or am I busy? Am I distracted? Do I ignore her? Do I not give her the time of day? Do I diminish her? Do I keep her small? And so, and this is real pain, and so the way that we show up from an emotional standpoint is going to likely cause way more damage in the long run than being a physical protector. But we kind of hold on to this kind of archetype of being a physical protector, and we kind of become so myopic and we lose sight of like, oh my gosh, I've been physically protecting my wife and at the same time destroying her emotionally without even realizing it. Okay.
Mhm.
And so I think the first step is just having that awareness that, going back to that statistic, 70%, right? So w- I've never, and you will never, ever find a woman, I mean, really, that says, I left my relationship because my husband didn't protect me physically.
Yeah.
Okay. But the opposite is going to be true. Okay. And so that's why we want to really double down on this concept of emotional safety and leading. And the way I really say it, Black Belt Husband has like a 5-part system. And the first part of that system is, um, they're like these pillars. And pillar number 1 is that I am the leader who sets the tone and the temperature for the marriage.
Mm.
Okay. So it's not that I am a leader, like my wife is also a leader. No, I'm taking full ownership of the leadership role. So whatever happens, good, bad, ugly, inside of my family, I'm taking full responsibility for it. Okay, so I am the leader who sets the tone and the temperature for the marriage. So setting the tone and the temperature. And it's kind of like, what kind of, this is kind of going to get practical in a second. So it's really kind of asking yourself, what kind of daily practices do you have day in and day out that sets the tone and the temperature for safety inside of your relationship? Okay, do you have a checklist? Not a checklist, but do you have kind of like things that you do? And this is what we teach guys inside of our system, because no one ever taught us how to do this. No one ever taught us that it's really important to, grab your wife by the hands and, sit down with her on the couch and hold her hands and look her in the eyes and say, tell me what's on your mind today. Like 99% of the world, if I interviewed guys right now, they've never done that. And so we can do all of these little things that seem trivial that have this huge emotional impact that
Mm.
create all this safety. And when we do that, that idea of becoming the leader just naturally flows. And a lot of guys, every guy I've ever met, he's had a desire for his wife to respect him and for his wife to kind of bestow upon him that leadership authority or that leadership role. He wants to be the leader. And when we know how to show up in such a way that creates all the emotional safety, our wives just pass us the baton. They're like, dude, you are the leader. I will follow you to the ends of the earth because I know that you're looking out for me. A
Mm.
lot of wives don't know that with like supreme confidence that we are genuinely have their best interest in mind. I mean, yeah, they know that we're there for them. We're good guys. We're not going to cheat on them. But it's like, do you really, like, emphasis on the word really, do you really have my best interest in mind? Now, we would all say, yes, I do, but they don't feel that. So it's our job to help them feel that.
Yeah, I love that. Like that sitting down. That's the intentionality of, when we take a look at what we call the E11 and E10, right? And we're talking about the intentionality of time every day with our wives. Maybe a note, that goes to every day, just that specific, like, let's check in, man. What's going on with you? Just that temperature check. But I love what he's saying too. First and foremost, setting that tone, and it ties in very closely with what we were talking about yesterday too, with that whole trust factor. When you trust yourself, other people trust you more too, because you trust yourself. When Amian shows up and he is just calm, cool, confident, collected, not cocky, just very calm, cool, like I would not want to be any other place in the world other than, right here with these three ladies. And man, let's just have a great time. And you're just trusting your own emotions out. Man, they feel that. And it's like, you bet. And then you can pour into them and their heart is wide open to accept everything you're saying, big or small. Like when you feel, and I'm saying this for myself too, when I feel like, if I go upstairs, after a day and I'm feeling like, okay, and I'm sitting there thinking about stuff that I still got to do, or thinking about something and there's just that disconnect there, even though I'm not saying anything wrong, I'm not doing, but it just creates a different vibe in the house. I got
Mm.
to put that away, go up there and just be like, man, here we are. We're home. It's a different vibe, man. Different vibe. It's really good, Amian.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
it's a great question, Amy, and hopefully that helped you. Can I add a comment to this, Matt? Because I want to share something also that I think is really important, like from a historical perspective. So it's like why so we're kind of answering the question, like what why does this emotional safety matter that much? Like maybe women are just too emotional and maybe they shouldn't care about this stuff, and we can kind of go into that. Okay, but here's the thing that we have to understand. Let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back in time, not even that long ago. Let's go back 500 years ago in time. Okay. If a woman was connected to a man and had a child with a man, if that man ended up leaving the relationship, it meant pretty much certain death for the woman and her offspring. Okay. Like going back in time into civilization, okay, that woman would have been discarded from most societies. Okay. That's just a fact. Okay. So how is that relevant? Well, we can fast forward to 2025 and we have community property states and we have alimony and women are in the workforce and women make good money and this and that. But from a DNA standpoint, there's still wiring inside the minds of women that their survival mechanism has been dependent upon the level of safety, trust, establishment with their mate. If that level of safety felt a little bit shaky, it creates a trauma response inside women where their brains literally go to a place of fight or flight. Now, guys don't feel that as much because our DNA hasn't adapted with that same level of risk. But women have carried a different level of risk when it comes to being connected in partnership. Historically, if a guy exited a relationship, he's going to be fine. He would find, if he has some resources, he would find, another woman, he would have more children. This is the course of kind of human history. The women didn't have that same experience. They would have been kind of outcasts of society. And there's lots of historical incidences where they would have actually died a physical death because nobody would have taken care of them. That's why women are so hyper vigilant on monitoring the
Mm.
establishment of the relationship. That's why that's why men set the tone in the temperature. Women are actually monitoring the thermostat. So we set the tone, they're just monitoring it. They're kind of like, is everything okay? I see you look a little bit grumpy. You didn't smile at me today. You didn't ask me how I'm doing, right? And then women kind of fall into this kind of like nagging kind of archetype, right? Where it's like, gosh, why is this person chronically unhappy? Well, from a DNA standpoint, from like a subconscious standpoint, they are assessing
Yeah.
the safety of the relationship because it's part of their adapted survival mechanism. And I don't know about you, but in my my premarital class, nobody told me that,
Yeah. Yeah, that they're probing, man. So when we can proactively give them that answer, we don't get the nag, we don't get the nag, quote unquote, nagging the questions, right? Because we're
Never,
proactively just
never.
showing them that they are safe. We're enjoying things. We're setting that tone. This is a great place. It's a comfortable place. We can have this conversation. I care about you. I value you. I just want to hear. And it really is just literally sometimes those words, man, I care about you. I want to see how you're doing. I want to check in what's going on in your mind. And it's the same. What's cool, Amian, is that it's also very, very similar for your girls too, right? I mean, it's the same dad checking in on them just like that, just like he checks in on the, and it's so funny to me.
Mm,
Sometimes I'll do a better job with my girls than I do with my wife, or vice versa. And I've got to
mm,
remind myself, yes, obviously the relationship is a vastly different type of relationship, but my attention to needs to look very, very similar sometimes,
mm,
you know, like, and that's a cool thing. And then it's a whole different, then I need to go punch Loudon in the face because that's how he likes to see love and we like to get after
mm.
it, right? So it's a different deal, man. But yeah, it's cool that you got the ladies. Yeah, it's a good question, Amy.
Thank you.
Mr. Howie, I see a hand out there. I love it, man. I appreciate you coming in, sir.
Yeah, sure. I've got a question for you. Do you think a relationship with your family or with God, is more important in both your life and a lot of your clients' life? And
Good
what does
question.
that look
Hey, Dylan. So you're asking, is my relationship with my wife and God, is that you're asking, which one's more important? You're asking?
like? Yes, sir. Which
Uh,
one uh, is more important to you, and which one do you think is more important to your clients, and what would be beneficial?
oh, great question. Okay, cool. Gotcha, Dylan. Okay, so for me, my relationship with God kind of trumps everything. Not kind of, it trumps everything. Okay, so my relationship with God kind of flows down, and it kind of flows into my relationship with my wife and my relationship with my children. So the starting place for me personally is my relationship with God. Now, for my clients, I work with two sets of clients. Okay. Some clients think like I do. They're going to be kind of Christian believers, they're going to be faith oriented people. And so they think like that. They also have that same worldview. And then some clients are atheist and agnostic, and they don't think that way. And so they would say that their relationship with their wife would be the most important thing. In my Let me just kind of put a little asterisk about that. The reason I believe that that's problematic is because if we put too much of a emphasis on our well-being for our relationship with our wives being successful, then it tends to put a lot of pressure on that relationship. Like we gotta really make it work. And if it feels like it's not really working perfectly, then it starts to become like it starts to kind of unravel us a little bit. So what I have found is that if I think that my relationship with God is the thing that really keeps me grounded, I don't have to put a lot of pressure with my relationship with my wife to be kind of like everything. And a lot of people that don't have faith, they end up kind of living their lives that way where their relationship with their spouse is their everything. And I think that that's kind of a fragile and precarious way to live life. So I just wouldn't recommend that.
Good. Yeah, it's really good. Does that help, Mr. Howie?
Yeah, I actually have a secondary question to that. You talked about being grounded, so you're not putting so much pressure on the relationship. What are some other things, sorry, you've seen that help guys be grounded in addition to or in
Hmm. In
other
addition,
ways,
in
like
addition to
Mm.
that
instead of
spiritual side.
relationship with God?
Mhm.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome question. Okay. So, you probably don't realize it, Howie, but you're bringing up such an important thing right now for guys. Okay. So I'm glad that you're bringing it up. Um, well, this is why, like for me personally, I talk about jujitsu a lot. Okay. So like jujitsu, and I'm not, it doesn't matter if you like jujitsu or not, but that's my little passion. That's my hobby. That's my sport. That's where I have a lot of friends. Okay. So guys, we need to be well-rounded. Okay. And so if we look at our lives like a pie chart, well, my relationship with my wife is only one slice of that pie. Other slices of the pie are my physical health. So I work out a lot, friends, hobbies, my spiritual life, having fun. There's all sorts of these like slices of the pie that are really, really important. And we want to make sure that as we, live our lives and that we're creating our lives, because this is really about creation, like we can create whatever we want, that we want to create these lives where we have that pie chart and we're kind of dialed in on all slices of the pie. Where a lot of guys go wrong is they, instead of their pie chart having like six slices that looks well rounded, their pie chart has two slices and it's work and family. And we don't want to live that way, because if we live that way, we're setting ourselves up for a certain failure at some point. Because in order for us to operate and operate at the highest level, to be very high functioning in life, we have to incorporate those other elements and not just our work life and our family life.
Right. It's really good. What do you think, Mr. Howard?
I think that is really important too. I appreciate the response.
Yeah.
Great question, sir. Love it. And you're in good company here with the jujitsu deal. And by the way, he mentions that the jujitsu is just the gentleman is a jujitsu black belt. I happen to know that that is the case. So he's not just somebody that dabbles. That's something that is well earned. So you're in good company here. We got a lot of fans and practitioners within the tribe, sir.
All right, guys, let's go.
Yeah. All right. And Guillermo, you're gonna have the last one from outside, my brother. Good to see you.
Hey, what's up, man? Quentin, good to see you too, bro.
Hey, Guillermo.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a little bit since I've been on here, man.
Hey,
Speaking of jujitsu, look at that. I got some gifts from jujitsu right there. Look,
yes, you do.
Dang,
dude.
bro, that looks like boxing.
Yeah, no, this is ringworm galore right here,
Oh
dude.
no, I
Like,
can't see it
yeah.
very well. Okay, I'm
Oh,
sorry, dude. That
sorry. Yeah,
sucks.
yeah.
Yeah.
You probably
Oh,
don't want to.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Jeez.
Yeah,
awesome, man. I'm
man.
glad you just got in there too and just kind of got
I
started.
know, dude. Like,
You got
yeah,
those gifts right away.
I was just talking to the academy yesterday because I told them about I want to go get it checked out, got it confirmed and all that. And I was like, hey, can you guys are you gonna really let me on the mat? And they're like, no, you better stay home for a little bit, man. Let that clear
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Oh,
So but it's been fun though. I get it now. I
yeah.
get it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, thank you so much for your time and thank you for what you're doing because I resonate with it a lot as you were
Mm.
speaking. I know Matt knows, especially within the family leadership kind of dynamic and everything you were talking about with the stats and all that. What I wanted to ask you is, as you're, what do you see as kind of the main like through line problem at the forefront of these men that you help out um, that they're facing? Like, I know you mentioned that they want to be respected, they want to be the leader of their home, they want their wife to consider them that. Do you think that's the biggest desire that they have at the forefront that maybe they're not saying, or is there a deeper rooted problem that you see across all the men that you speak to, where you're like, okay, cool, this is the path we want to go to help them out? Like, is there a
Mm.
specific problem that you see where is it just that the lack of respect, the lack of that fellowship that they want from their wife, or is there something deeper there?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah.
Um, so the desire for respect is more of like a topical kind of desire.
Okay.
It's not like the
Yeah.
root thing. It's more of like that's kind of what people will say in conversations. They'll say, "Oh, my wife is disrespectful." Okay, so okay, great.
Mm.
But it's like, well, why is that happening? So then let's go a layer deeper. Okay, well, and maybe I'm going to try to answer your question. I think the best I know how maybe you're asking it. So the common thread that I see and that we see inside of our program is that most men have been um, conditioned to be too passive inside of their marriages. Okay, so that's the
Gotcha.
through line. Okay.
Okay.
And this kind
Yeah.
of goes back to, a little bit of a sociological kind of understanding where you had, the feminist movement in the 1960s, and then we go to the 70s and 80s, and our culture produced men and developed men, and we told men that you need to play smaller. You need to not
Mm,
be so aggressive. You need to be kinder and gentler, and you need to be less manly. And
mm,
so, fast forward to 2025, there's a whole cultural problem with inside the world of men who have lost their belief in themselves to be leaders in a certain way because they wrongfully believe that that is associated with narcissism or some
yeah.
horrible label like that. And so most men that we work with, overwhelming majority of men that we work with, the through line is that they are showing up in their relationships and in life in general with a fear-based passivity. Okay, so they are
Yeah.
passive, but they're not passive from like a humbly strong place. They're passive from a fearful, conflict avoidant place. And so
Yeah.
that's really the basis of our program is helping to empower men to reclaim their strength, reclaim their masculinity for the service and for the love of their family.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense because yeah, I mean I'm thinking back through my history because I've been what you just described is where I've been, and I almost
Mm,
lost my marriage because of it
mm,
until my mentor kind of flipped a switch on it now.
mm.
Funny enough, Matt Pops, my mentor, he's here right now. He's visiting
Nice.
with his wife, man. So we haven't seen each other in like 4 years, so it's been kind of cool
Oh, that's
to catch
awesome.
up with him, man. But yeah, so I understand that what you're saying in terms of the passivity, almost like you think that if you mess up or you make a mistake that she's gonna leave. Like, oh man,
Hmm.
I don't want to step on any toes because she's gonna leave me, and then operating that way, then you get hit with divorce papers or you get hit with an affair, you get hit with something out of the blue where you think it's everything's good, right? And you're doing your job as a provider and you're doing what you're supposed to do as a good Christian husband. Um, and then you get blindsided by that. So no, that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that answer. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, man, you got it, brother.
So
Yeah,
good. Oh, so I know we're at the hour here, man. I want to wrap on a couple things before I take all these guys through a debrief here. One, again, just thank you not only for the time here, man, but for the work you are doing. This is work that matters potentially more now than it ever has, and so I'm just really really grateful for good men stepping up and helping other men be better men and be better leaders. And but we can't have enough of that. And the fact that you get to raise those two young men to do it better than we have too is a great thing, man. What a blessing on that. So after I get done with the meetings today, I'm just telling you, I'm putting that out there to the guys too. I'll shoot you my info, and I want to just keep the conversation going. And next time you're out here in this area, again, you got open invite out here to the farm, man. You and the fam, you and the
cool.
boys come over. We'll wrestle some goats and and just have a good old farm time, man. So just want to put that
Awesome.
out there. As we put this out as a podcast, last two questions on our side: where does everybody find you, your work? Where would you have people go? And the most important question to us always is, how do we as an organization best support you, you the man, you and your family? Like, how do we
Mm,
support you? So those are the final
yeah.
thoughts. That
Okay, thanks, Matt. I really appreciate the time too, man, just to allow me to be on here. So hopefully it's been, helpful to you guys. So I mean, if you want to find me in kind of the marriage kind of work, just go to my Instagram. It's blackbelthusbands.com. And you could kind of DM me there if you want to get in touch with me. Super easy. And then support, gosh, yeah, man, I appreciate that question so much. I'm in the middle of writing a new book right now, and it's a book about being a man. So when I finish that, I'll circle
yeah,
back and then maybe we'll talk about what that book says and we'll
do it.
just, kind of digest it a little bit.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. No, I can't wait. Very much appreciate it. That sounds freaking fantastic. And I mean it, man. After we get done with all these, we'll have a couple meetings and then I'm going to shoot you my info too. And obviously we'll keep you posted on when this comes out, and we'll get clips and we'll do all that kind of stuff. But I want to keep the conversation rolling too, and make sure that we got your six, man, on anything. So
Cool.
yeah,
Cool. I appreciate you, man. Thank you
okay.
guys. And yeah, thank you guys for showing up too. All you listeners, appreciate that.
Heck yeah. No, honor's ours. Gentlemen, give a big thank you if you would, please.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Quentin, I'll reach out in a little bit, brother.
Wonderful, guys. Cheers. Have a great day.
Get you as well, man.
Okay. Bye-bye.